Hi everyone, welcome back. Hi Luigi, how are you? How are you this fine week?
Hola, hola, ciao, salutations, konnichiwa, George. Feeling very well. It's been a busy
Excellent.
week. Another
Very
busy
busy
week,
week.
as always. How are you?
I'm fine, very well. And should we get right to it, Luigi?
Of course. And we're
We did
starting
the
right.
special
Right.
episode, so we've staggered a bit. We've got a lot of news. We got a lot of news. Last time we devoted our time to Mr. Botticelli, but the news waits for no one, Luigi.
Allegedly an Italian.
An alleged Italian. He's been
That
spotted in Italy.
he's been disavowed by the Italian government itself,
No, by the Council of Italians,
by the Papa.
by the Conciliato. It's basically whoever has eaten the most pizzas, and the council, and they decide, and he's not Italian anymore.
Okay.
Should we get, as is customary by now, should we start with something stupid and pointless?
Yeah.
So what have we got, Luigi?
I saw this, like the moment I saw this headline, I was like, this is gonna make it in the show. So the world's richest man has just received the highest award, the highest honor the French state can award you, awarded by Emmanuel Macron himself.
We've got French news.
We've got French news. We've got French medals of honor awarded to billionaires that haven't done anything. So Arnold, what's his name? Arnold.
Bernard.
Yeah. Bernard Arnault, whatever. The world's richest man just received the highest French award for doing nothing, simply for existing, for breathing our oxygen and taking our money. So,
Billionaire gets awarded for simply existing.
Exactly. That's a caption.
That's the caption. That's a very interesting. I just want to note that Jay-Z was there, Beyonce. Are Beyonce and Jay-Z French, Luigi? Why do I doubt that? Musk, no, fuck that. Musk, Elon, I mean, why not?
Elon arrived in a rocket. He landed backwards to watch his fellow billionaire.
He used his own fart juices to descend down into the Elysee Palace. The second richest man, I might add, if Bernard is the first. Good to see the competition being there.
It fluctuates depending on stock market prices.
Yes.
Lately, Tesla hasn't been doing that well.
It fluctuates because of market fart juices, and then they're in the system, and shit fluctuates a lot. But they're there, both of them, the highest honors for existing, for moving their capital to manifest new horizons. Is that the bullshit they inhale? Yes. Let's end with that, Luigi.
Something. I mean, it's the news. Even the funny news is getting more dystopian by the day. It's like we are giving billionaires medals. I mean, if he did something cool, give him a medal. I mean, the guy is just breathing. It's like, oh, let's give him a medal. Oh,
but he elevates the world of fashion. He makes beautiful little handbags. I mean, he doesn't even make them. He doesn't even make them. When's the last time he designed a handbag?
the 80s or something. But I mean, he's being rewarded for that through billions and billions and billions of euros, I should add. So,
and he has even money or committed money to reconstruct the Notre Dame, Luigi. The Notre Dame.
Peanuts, I say, good sir.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, the guy's got billions. If we had gotten 500 million out of that, we would have built 2 Notre Dames. Duh. So let's move on. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Oh, this developed today, Luigi. Have you seen this? Let's just play that. Have you seen what happened?
Yeah, a boat crashed into a bridge, something along those lines.
So we got the video. I mean, if you have a look at that.
Wow.
There's cars right there, by the way. Just plunging into the abyss.
That is scary. So
this developed.
Was it an accident? How does this happen? I mean, I haven't seen the details of this story. Fill us in.
It's a developing news story. Nobody's got information at this point over what happened and why
It was an accident, right?
why
It
the
looks like an
container
accident.
ship, fucking smashed into the bridge. They will investigate. It's a massive, massive accident. Yeah, obviously it wasn't an act of terrorist,
Yeah,
terrorism, if that's what you're
exactly.
asking. Yeah, it was an accident, but nobody knows why it happened. Catastrophic, right? There was information that this ship has been involved in prior accidents as
Yeah,
well.
I saw that as well back in 2016, but I don't remember which accidents.
There's the
Yeah, there it
previous
is. So 2016 collision in Belgium.
there's the
Even the
previous accident.
Europeans could not escape, George.
There's the previous accident. I mean, I've seen some comments underneath videos of this today that are like, "Oh, it's the crumbling infrastructure."
No, dude, that wasn't.
And I'm like,
No,
dudes,
no.
my dudes, can you not see the fucking ship crashing into the
There,
fucking bridge?
there are
Sorry,
many, many cases of crumbling
but
infrastructure.
this is
That
not
wasn't
it,
it.
brothers.
That's
This
not
is
it.
also this is not it. This is a fucking ship crashing
Oh,
into a
well.
bridge too. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the reason I wanted to do it because I've seen so many comments that are like, "Oh, look at our infrastructure crumbling." I'm like,
I'm gonna stick with the captain drinking rum at night
dude.
time.
Yeah, to move on. It's
Yeah,
just I wanted to state
yeah.
that.
Only we could make a joke out of a tragic event like this. So yeah, let's continue.
Speaking of tragic events, Luigi, before we get into this tragic event, I think we have to give our dues to Senor Putin for his resounding victory
Flawless
a
victory.
flawless performance, 100%. I mean, 87% was it, and a historic turnout.
Comrade,
Comrade,
come on.
comrade, this
87% verified
peanuts.
by
Nobody really.
a few people, our Russian
Our
intelligence
people,
services.
our
Yeah,
people,
yeah,
anyway, by our people. Yeah. So, a
Comrade,
few.
comrade. Election results accurate. It's
Are you
yeah.
traitor, comrade? Are you
What are you
traitor?
implying, comrade? Siberia nice this time of year, comrade.
Siberia nice all year. Following that, Luigi, I'm sure you know, a few days later, there was a terrorist attack where
Yeah,
at least 115 were killed, scores wounded in the Moscow concert hall. And Islamic State Croissant claimed responsibility for it. They're very sophisticated. They smoke a lot. Actually, no, they're savages and they behave like savages. And they claimed responsibility for it. Islamic State Croissant is based in Afghanistan. Correct me if I'm wrong, Luigi. I
I
think it is.
haven't I haven't involved myself with the Islamic State since 2016, 2017.
Give me a second. Yes. By an Afghan group linked to Islamic State. Yeah. You know, they are known as ISIS Croissant or ISIS K, seeks a caliphate across Afghanistan, Pakistan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and Iran. So I think we had them involved in Iran recently as well, right? We had a terrorist attack there as well.
Yeah. So
Yeah, go on.
no, so I guess it was linked to what did the group claim? Like what was the motive?
I mean, they claimed responsibility for the attack late on Friday, the group themselves, the motive behind the attack.
So Putin said on Monday the attack had been carried out by Islamic militants, but also suggested that Ukraine
Oh, we'll
may
get
have
there.
played a role.
That's the reason I wanted to mention it. But you asked the reason. I'm not certain, Luigi, the justification for it.
So here we go. So
Go on.
the motive for the attack was not clear. This is according to Reuters. Russia, along with the US and Syrian forces, played a major role in defeating the Islamic State in Syria. They don't have a clear motive
They
yet.
haven't given a clear motive. There is the possibility that, because Russia backed Assad in Syria. I mean, basically, couldn't change the course of the Syrian civil war by intervening in 2015, supporting President Bashar al-Assad against the opposition, which a lot of people claimed was largely constituted of Islamic State. So maybe they hold a grudge about this, Luigi.
So it was an indirect sort of you kept the
I mean, they'll kill anybody.
They are
They're fucking
yeah,
savages. Let's be
but
honest. I mean,
an attack of this magnitude inside Russia with all of its paranoia about, security. I mean,
it was a
that's
horrific
very
terrorist
difficult.
attack, yes.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get to exactly what you said,
Like,
to what you alluded to,
mhm.
that it seems that Putin and the rest of the Russian establishment really wants to blame Ukraine for it, right?
Yeah, so I've got a quote here from the director of the FSB, that's basically the modern day KGB. And
That's
he
is that the foreign intelligence service or is it the domestic intelligence service?
it's both in Russia.
It's been that, yes.
Foreign intelligence and domestic intelligence are not separated. It's one
It's
thing.
not like the CIA and the
Yeah, it's not
FBI.
like the
Yes.
CIA, the FBI. It's like one thing.
Yeah. And they've got GRU as well, GRU, which is the military intelligence. Yes.
So
Along with, yeah, the
the
FSB.
director of the FSB, Bortnikov, was quoted as saying, as he suggested, Western intelligence services in Ukraine needed the attack, hoping it would create panic in Russian society. So that's the angle I think that the Russians are spinning it.
100%. 2 days. I mean, sorry, Luigi. Go on. Sorry.
No, that was the point that they're trying to point the finger to Ukraine, and at the same time, there's no motive to speak of. What you mentioned might be accurate, but it sounds like a long shot, right?
Yes, but I
They
want
held a
to.
grudge for 5 years, and yeah,
I wouldn't. Let me take the other angle, the Russian angle, because yes, they definitely that in about 3 days from now they'll be going. Zelensky himself was in the concert gunning them down. That's the direction I'm perceiving here from the dear Russians. But I want to state, and I know, it's hard not to notice that Russian propaganda does find a lot of that does stick a lot to a lot of minds. I mean, it is relatively effective,
I would argue super effective. I
it
would
is.
argue,
It is one of the
yeah,
effective ones, right? I mean, and I was gonna say in Western minds, but internationally, really, they're effective at it, and I get why. I really do, because especially for a Westerner, I mean, they do feel like they're the enemies of your status quo. I mean, the powers that be in the West, the oligarchs, whatever, they do feel like the Russians are their enemies, and they are, but not in the way you want. Because all they really are is just another pair of jackals that want a slice of the fucking pie. That's what they really are. So I mean, you should recalibrate the way you look at this. I mean, my opinion, my humble opinion is it's not the MO of the Ukrainians. They haven't carried anything like this that
not at all,
during their
not at
whole
all.
invasion. They've done assassinations. They killed Alexander Dugin's daughter, I think, with a car bomb in Moscow. That's very different from what happened a few days ago in the concert called a pure terrorist attack. It's not their MO. And they're not idiots, man. Imagine if they had captured 5 Ukrainians. They would have served
Yeah.
Putin a victory on a silver platter. They're not that fucking.
A domestic propaganda victory, a huge one, and imagine the retaliation as well, right?
Yes,
If you
yes.
start bombing my theaters, I'm gonna like Russia is gonna respond probably in kind. So
Yeah,
I agree with you.
100%. Yeah.
I very much I agree with you. I very much doubt it was the Ukrainians. There's nothing clearly to gain here.
Yes, but it seems that that's the way Mr. Putin seems to want to spin it, even though everybody's trying to preempt it. I think Macron, yeah, the French president, told reporters that it would be wrong of Mr. Putin to blame Ukrainians because it's the evidence indicates it was the entity of the Islamic State that instigated this attack. It would be cynical and counterproductive to suggest Ukraine was to blame.
There's no motive for Ukraine. Yeah, panic in Russian society is one thing, but this might even strengthen Putin's hand and his
It would
power,
it
right?
would mobilize the Russian population far more against Ukraine.
Exactly. Oh my. Okay, so my conspiratorial mind is going to work here, and I mean, seeing that
That
Putin.
always works, Luigi. You're
So
like Putin carried it out. I mean,
I
they said that about October 7th as well, you know that, because you get all this information that they've been warned about it, but they didn't act on the warnings. You had
yeah.
that in
The
October 7th.
Americans.
I remember with the
Mhm.
Egyptians coming out and
Yeah.
saying that we warned them. And you had this as well with the Americans coming out and being like, we warned them. And the proof is
And
there that they
the
did warn
FSB,
them.
the FSB even acknowledged that they had been
Yes,
warned by the
that's what I
Americans.
wanted to say. It's been
Yet,
proven that they were warned by the Americans. It's not just the Americans coming out now and just saying it. There
but
is
the
the
Russians,
paper trail.
but the Russians are saying it was a general warning. Like they didn't give them anything concrete to
Okay.
go by. It was just, be on
Okay.
alert.
But as far as I
Everything.
know, they even informed the US citizens living in Russia about it, not to attend large public gatherings.
Wow. Okay. That I
Yeah, a
haven't
few
seen.
weeks ago.
Okay. So in any case, the reason I mentioned that, the fact
Yes,
that that there is a universe where this could have been a false flag, so you know,
definitely.
uh, is because Putin allegedly did something similar when he was elected into power, right? There were some attacks, like some bombings earlier in
To
his
invade
term.
Chechnya afterwards.
Exactly. So it was blamed on Chechnya, and those are widely believed to have been a
Yes,
false flag attack carried by
by
Russian
FSB.
forces. And the point being that Putin's popularity was extremely low at that point, and yeah, it rose. It rose very significantly in the aftermath.
And
So
we're not even saying he carried it out, but consider the possibility that he knew about it and elected to do nothing.
yeah, which is probably far more likely
But
than
again,
that.
we have no evidence either
Yeah,
way.
well, this is
We're
just
speculating, yes.
speculation, just talking. Yeah. So should we continue?
Yes, we're
We've
going
got a lot
to
of ground to cover.
a
We've
lot of
got our
ground.
favorite
Oligarch, our
orange, yeah,
favorite,
oligarch, sure, sure.
our favorite orange oligarch. And he got a massive victory, Luigi.
I saw,
His
yeah.
deadline had just run out, for fuck's sake, on the 150 million fine. And he got a new fucking decision that reduced it to 175 million and gave him 10 days, another 10 days to find the money.
I mean, we are not in the billionaire class. They get extensions, George.
They get
You
extensions. They get,
don't.
by the way, they get massive reductions in the bond amount. I mean, that's a massive reduction. I don't know, we're talking about astronomical sums at this
Yeah,
point,
but
but
oh, wait. This is the
half a
bond.
billion. This is the bond. Of
Wait.
course, if he loses the
Let's
appeal,
explain yeah. Let's explain the difference. So this is the amount of money he has to put up in front, like before the appeal, before
yes,
he actually pays the fine. This is like the security sort of deposit, in a sense. Yeah, he has to pay a far smaller bond. He also got a time extension. So great news, right? But
great.
that's not all. That's not all for Donny Boy. It's been a wonderful week for Donny Boy because, yeah, this is Trump's ace in the hole, George. This is Trump's.
Yes,
This is Trump's trump card.
another Trump card,
Pun intended.
apart from the 75 million drooling followers. The second Trump card.
So, Truth Social, which is Trump's, let's
We
say,
know it. We know it. We shot on it, Luigi, multiple
we
times
shadowed
during
that,
the and this is
you know, the audience.
a pretty beautiful valuation for a social media company. We thought
Yeah,
was pretty much unused. Is it
yeah,
unused? How many
and for
people go on
something,
there?
then for something that, let's be honest, it's a cheap ripoff of Twitter. How it has not been taken to courts and dismantled because of how similar it is beyond me, honestly. In any case, Trump had to pay $450 million for just one of his cases. Everybody was saying, oh my God, nobody has that amount of cash sitting around. And here we are. The company is valued at around 9 billion, George, and it has just gone public. And I think Trump owns, there it is, about 5 billion of that. So let's call it
A lot.
60%,
But he
give
has
or take.
6 months. He has a lockup restriction for 6 months to prevent him from selling. After those
Yeah.
6 months are over, it's game over.
Yeah.
We're
So
pulling the money.
after those 6 months, what you're gonna see, like tactical
Yeah.
selling, and by that I
Yes.
mean selling as much as possible without
Yes.
tanking the stock price and
Yes. Without
hurting the process.
inducing, without inducing a
Panic.
sell-off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, so he might not be able, he might have a lockup period of 9 months, of 6 months, but he can still pledge those shares. They
Of
will vote
course, it's
against
an
him.
immeasurable success for Tony, the valuation of this company. Yeah.
So
He can take
well,
loans on this company. It's collateral. It's part of his wealth.
precisely exactly what Elon did with
Exactly what Elon
Tesla.
does every day.
Yeah,
Elon doesn't
yeah,
even buy
what
branch people.
every billionaire does.
Elon doesn't even pay for branch people. It's all collateral. He's a
Or
billionaire. He's a god among us.
three Morgan Stanley interns show up with his
Yeah.
breakfast every morning.
And whoever makes the best branch doesn't die.
Does not get fed to the rockets.
To the lionesses that are strapped on rocket ships. Yeah, exactly. And he got another news. I've got another news piece about Trump. The case with the hush money payments is gonna proceed, but honestly, I give zero shits about that one, and I don't even think it's positive that that's the one that's gonna go to court first. Because he's gonna spin it 100 ways to Sunday, dude.
And even if he doesn't, what's another 50 or 100 million
Oh
here and
yeah, I mean,
there
I don't think
when
it's
you're getting
I don't
5
think it's an
billion?
important enough case, that one, to be honest. The hush money payments to Stormy Daniels.
More broadly, I know this has been beaten to death already, but like Trump's ability to recover and even shine after political scandals and
It's like
court
I'm made of
cases. I
marshmallow.
mean, it's
I
like
bounce right
there's
off.
never been a politician where things just bounce off like that. Like I can't think of a single example in history. He's pretty unique, man. Love him or hate him.
Hate him
Yeah, and
mostly, but
yeah,
he's funny.
but it provides us with a lot of material. We have to be honest. But this headline we're watching on our screens, like getting 5 billion out of a social media company, it's the embodiment of how you can use your fame and political status to enrich yourself. Like
Oh yeah,
proper. No games being played, nobody trying to hide anything. There it is, 5 billion just for channeling his inner stardom.
exactly. Just for using his shitty Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, ripoff website.
And nobody has given him a medal yet, George.
He got one
Nobody hasn't
actually, Luigi. He
got a
got
medal.
one.
Oh,
He got
really?
one very recently. He awarded himself, Luigi. Just
He
a second.
awarded himself a medal. Like, wow.
He
That's
awarded himself a medal,
oh yeah, I saw
Luigi.
this. I saw this.
It is my great honor to be at Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach tonight, awards night, to receive the club championship trophy and the senior club championship trophy. I won both.
In all caps, like
You
in
know,
all caps. I won everything.
at that, he won everything at the Trump International Golf Club. Congrats, Tony. Seems to be doing well. Seems to be doing well.
I mean, he's running an election. He's getting 5 billion, and he's winning all the golfs.
And they haven't taken Trump, the Manhattan Tower yet, Luigi. That's the
And they
important
haven't
part.
taken the Manhattan Tower.
Our buildings,
The building of my children.
where my children play with their Legos.
I laid the first 5 bricks. I showed them how to do the brick thing.
It was me,
Look what
folks. They used to stack them horizontally. I was like, why don't you put it one on top of the other? And that's how buildings were made. It was me.
I tell you, we built it in 5 days. Anybody else would have taken 5 decades to George.
For 5 pastrami sandwiches. That was it. That was the payment at their budget. And I mean, as you said, I remember right when the story was coming out with his increasingly high legal bills as they started amounting. I remember, Luigi, you were always like, he's gonna find the money. And it seems the fucking slippery fucker is proving you right every time, right? That's what this news.
The sneakers and the golden sneakers were
That was a side hustle.
That was the diversion, George. That
Yeah.
was the slay of hand, like
A side hustle at
tariq.
best compared to this. I said sneakers. That's how he enters the soul of Black America, Luigi. A flawless victory.
What does Michael Jordan have
Yeah.
that Donald Trump does not? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, he gets his own awards, people, at his own
yeah,
golf clubs
he
named
grants
after
himself.
him.
I mean, he doesn't even get like he can't get the president to give him an award because he's gonna be the president.
Exactly. I
So, I
mean,
mean,
respect, recognize respect, right? Who's the one
oh,
who could respect, who Donny could respect most? Who's that, if not Donny
the
himself, right?
yeah,
It's
the
flawless logic.
the Pope.
Il Supremo Pontifico. They don't
Il
like him,
supremo
Luigi, these days.
pontifico.
I mean, yeah. Biden made fun of him. Biden should fucking
Wait,
solve issues.
Let's rephrase. Biden's Twitter team
Of
made a
course.
joke back.
Of course,
Biden
Biden,
didn't do
Biden,
anything.
Biden, Biden doesn't know what Twitter is, obviously. What's that? The Twitter? What is that? X sounds like a porn site. Yeah, should we move on to the more serious stuff, Luigi?
Okay,
Get
bring
ready.
it on.
I
Bring it
mean,
on.
bring
I'm
it
ready.
on.
I've braced
Uh,
myself.
after 6 months, Luigi, I checked. The UN Security Council has finally voted to demand an immediate ceasefire in Gaza for the first time since the start of the Israel-Hamas war. After they dropped the threat to veto, by the way, this Security Council resolution was put forward by the 10 elected members who voiced their frustration with more than 5 months of deadlock between the major powers, mostly the US. Russia and China have vetoed a few themselves as well. Applause broke out in the chamber after the vote. The
Oh, no, 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 no,
14,
no, 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 no,
14
no.
members voted in favor and one abstention, which was the US. Yes, Luigi.
We have to put emphasis on applause broke out. Applause doesn't break out at the Security Council of the
It's
UN.
frowned upon. It's not
It
proper
literally doesn't
decorum.
happen.
I think the last time it did, I heard someone mention it, was when a French minister made the speech against the Iraq war. I think that was the last time. But yeah, it doesn't happen often. But there are 14 members voting in favor, Luigi, and only one abstention. The United States, they did not veto. The text demanded, and that was a very important word that the US didn't want to include, but the text demanded an immediate ceasefire for the month of Ramadan, leading to a lasting, sustainable ceasefire. Another point of contention was this word, and the US did manage to get the word it wanted here. The others wanted a permanent ceasefire. US wanted a lasting. It also demanded the release of hostages, but did not make a truce dependent on them being freed. So they want them free, but it shouldn't be conditional with the
It shouldn't be
ceasefire.
connected necessarily.
Yes.
Get the ceasefire, then you can exchange the
Yes. Yes.
hostages.
The importance is getting to say this is the first time in 6 months I checked. And I guess that's why applause broke out. I heard afterwards that the US is spinning it, that it wasn't a binding resolution. Listen, people, every fucking UN Security Council
It's never
resolution that gets
binding.
voted in favor of is a binding resolution. That's just how it works. What they mean to say is that we don't want to enforce the
Yeah,
resolution.
nobody can enforce it, basically. And
That's
you're not
what
gonna
they
get
mean. That's what they
you're,
mean.
you're
But
not
they
gonna
don't
get
want to say
a
that.
global humanitarian peace force to go into. No,
I mean,
that's not.
of
There's
course
no
it's
universe.
legally binding, but what they're saying is that we don't want to enforce it. We don't want to enforce a ceasefire like that, because how do you enforce the ceasefire at this point? Well, you start sanctioning Israel. That's what you do. You do arms embargoes on countries when you want them to stop a war. Especially if you're the United States and they depend so much on you providing them their arms. You can stop this war in a week or so.
The whole world has been leaning on the US to
Yes.
accept this, like for 6 months.
Even
And
the
yeah,
British
not only for
voted
six.
in favor. Even the
For
British
the
voted in
last 9
favor.
months, it's basically been the
Yes.
US on one side and everybody else on the other side. And finally, but again, better late than never. But this is pretty late, man.
let's
proceed
move
with it.
on. A response by Israel to that resolution. By the way, they came out threatening the United States, things like that. And the threat was we're not going to send our delegation to Washington. That's not a mighty threat, Bibi. I'm not going to
Oh
lie.
no.
Oh, no,
No.
please. No,
Oh.
not the delegation not
Not the
arriving.
delegation. Oh my God, BB. And I also saw that BB canceled the trip of his to the US
Yes,
that he had
yes.
planned
And
after
they will
this
no
war.
longer approve UNRWA food aid to northern Gaza, the United Nations agency, which is the United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees. And they don't wanna recognize them anymore because, I mean, as far as I can tell, I mean, they've accused them of participating in the 7th of October attack. They
Yeah.
provided no evidence of that.
The-
As far as I can tell, their issue is that they call them refugees. I mean, why are they being called refugees? That means that they got a place to return to that they were refugees from. And I think that's the issue. That's Israel's issue.
it's the phrasing
Yeah,
problem.
yeah, because it gives them false hope, right? As if this is gonna die down without UNRWA. They're fucking idiots, man.
I don't know. Like maybe it's just another way of not allowing aid in
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
general,
yeah. Of
right?
course, of course, of
And
course, of
we
course.
end up building the ports and do other like
How's
airport
that
trade.
Pierre mission, by the way? How's that going?
Yeah.
Not
I,
much.
we haven't heard much, no? There
And
haven't
there
been any
was
updates. We're
footage,
working,
Luigi.
George.
Yeah,
We're
yeah. They're
we're busy.
floating next to the Gazan shore trying to construct the pier. Yeah. And there was footage, Luigi, which is pretty brutal. I came out. I think a few eyes were turned. I mean, just a little bit, just so you can have a look. This is just as you can see, four people just
Yeah,
walking.
walking under next to rubble on both sides.
And that's the Israeli drone response. I think this was published by Al Jazeera, I think. And I mean, Luigi, obviously not war crimes, right? Oh, that doesn't look like a war crime.
You know what? I mean, I don't know
Doing
whether
their
that
utmost to preserve the integrity of Gazan civilian life. Yeah.
that's just a video. We need some context for that. But I
Of
mean,
course,
if
yeah, but I
if it's
mean,
just for civilians, then yeah. And you know what the problem is? A lot of people wouldn't consider that like an act of, genocide or a crime against humanity because the killing isn't done by people anymore, right? It's a bomb, like it's a drone. It's like the humanity has left the building in a sense, and for some reason, like
what you mentioned,
Mhm.
there were articles. I think there was an article in the Guardian that they're using an algorithm, the Israelis, to target buildings, and that has resulted in massive amounts of casualties. And I'm not even talking about drone operators at this point. I'm talking about the guys who actually target the fucking infrastructure. That's just an algorithm at this point.
that that is scary to hear.
Yeah, that is even scarier, right?
Yeah.
And
You you
yeah,
uh-huh.
go on. Yeah, go on,
The
Mitch.
most moral military on the planet. Yeah,
Easily, easily,
you
easily.
don't want your life to be dependent on algorithms, on how an algorithm woke up that morning. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
and there's been parts of the Israeli media have gone very gung-ho against Netanyahu after this resolution passed at the Security Council has been greeted by sharp criticism by Israeli commentators. It's all pretty self-explanatory, really. I mean, he's driving a wedge, at least with the Democratic Party, and that's not really a good idea, right? And I think the way they described him Netanyahu in the same paper, which paper was that? The center-right paper. The columnist Barnea painted an imagined scene where US officials were seen laughing at Netanyahu's cancellation of a delegation to Washington in protest. Yeah, it was a pretty weak response to Bibi. Netanyahu, he continued, has been dealing with America the way a spoiled teenager deals with his parents, with perpetual rebellion, perpetual insults, and perpetual scandals. And I like that description.
yeah.
That's the
Wow.
way it looks whenever
That,
Netanyahu
that's how
responds
it
to
looks.
Biden.
Uh-huh. And I mean, the funniest part is Netanyahu is gonna be out of there in a few months. you get a new government coming in, and suddenly the relation is healed, right? So
Theoretically, yeah, yeah, yeah.
BP is not burning bridges here. He's just using his own exit sort of as a like carte blanche to
An
do whatever he wants.
an
Yeah,
opportunity to get a few more victories in against the
yeah,
Palestinian people.
basically.
And
But
then you've got
without any real consequences.
and you saw that, right? There was an announcement of new settlements while Anthony Blinken was in the country on Friday. So I mean, someone is trying to explain the reasons for why the United States chose to abstain instead of veto the last resolution. And they said part of it was the settlements, part of it is the catastrophic humanitarian situation, and part of it is that Israel seems dead set on invading Rafah.
Yeah, Netanyahu seems that set
Yeah,
on
yeah. When I
doing
say
that.
Israel, obviously, I mean, first of all, the president.
The commander of the military, but I mean, he said he was going to do the invasion about 10 days ago now, or 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's been
And
some time.
yeah, he stalled. The reason he stalled is because the pressure from the international community has been immense.
As we
There's
have
no,
seen, I mean,
there's no
yesterday.
way. Yeah, exactly. There's no way he does it now after that resolution,
I
right?
hope so. Hope so, Luigi.
There's no
Because
way that will be escalating the situation to the
it's
point of
catastrophic. Because we're talking
sanctions.
about 1 point something million people trapped in Rafah, basically. And then there's rubble. They've reduced everything else to rubble. Where the fuck are they going to go? I mean,
Nowhere, nowhere. That's
nowhere,
the point.
unless the answer Bibi score is Egypt, and that
I
is
mean,
not gonna work. It's not gonna fucking fly if they wanna send them into the Sinai Desert, which I feel that is what they wanna do, right? Unless they wanna send them back into the rubble and just let them leave us
yeah.
like,
And say, go,
fallout people.
be, no, no, go, be prosperous.
Bro,
Well,
it's ridiculous, yeah.
yeah.
Have we said enough about this? Should we move
Well,
on?
yeah,
Let's move
we've
on.
covered that. We've beaten the topic
I
enough.
just want to, because we've discussed this many times, and it's nice to see an article fairly recent in The Guardian that just basically spells it out, what we've talked about many times, that the German living standards plummeted after Russia invaded Ukraine, with real wages falling further in 2022 than in any year since 1950, said a report. Which
So
which goes to show that the level of shock that Germany experienced.
for sure, and I mean that's saying a lot, right? The biggest income loss in 5 decades, in
And,
7 decades.
and of course, they were very high up on the fucking ladder of economic performance, but
And
it's
pretty
still a
consistent with it.
massive loss. It's still a massive loss, even if you're really high up. You lost ground, so there's an effect.
So look, the Russian invasion of Ukraine broke the German business model
Yes.
by raising local energy prices. And the problem with the Germans is, it's been 2 years now. They haven't figured out a way to solve this, right? They haven't reinvented industry. They haven't directed public funds, to do anything impressive. In fact, because of some constitutional rules legacy of the euro crisis, the German government has had to cut its planned investments in green energy mostly
Yeah.
for the next few years. So it's probably going to get worse, and they already are in a technical recession.
Yeah.
And there's no real light at the end of that tunnel unless they do something drastic. To do something drastic, they need to change the constitution to allow the government to spend money. But you can't change the constitution when your parliament is as fragmented as the German parliament
Full
is
of
right
alternatives.
now. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
mean,
And
so
that
it's a
fractured.
really
Yeah.
bad
Yeah.
spot. They're in a political deadlock. They
Yeah.
are in a bad economic situation and a political deadlock to deal with that. So good luck with that.
Should
Yeah, I mean,
we finish up with you wanted this, Luigi, this article about the Apple CEO, Team Apple, visited
yeah.
Shanghai to beg China to allow more iPhone sales, basically, is what I'm
That is a
getting at.
summation. That
That
is
is
a
the summation.
summation.
Tell us
Tim
more.
Cook groveled in front of the Xi Jinping,
Emperor
begging
Xi,
Emperor
Commander Xi, the one
Supreme Command. Yeah.
supreme commander of communism and all associated ideologies, the one, the only. Winnie the motherfucking Pooh.
100%.
And I was doing so well, right? But he
So
groveled because China is a massive market with massive
yeah,
economic
China
weight.
China is about 20% of Apple sales, but
Wow.
it might not be for very long because the government has already forbidden government employees from using Apple devices for any part of their work. And
Yes.
you have to imagine that if the Americans go ahead with that TikTok ban, the response might be cool. We are banning Apple
Oof.
from
Could
China.
easily see
You
that,
banned
easily.
you banned Huawei. So yeah, I don't know, but Team Apple being in China is actually important
Very.
geopolitically, not just for Apple, right? They sent the Apple king to
We're talking about
reign.
one of the biggest multinationals in the United
Yeah,
States. We're talking about Apple. It's major, major stakes, yeah, for Tim to
yeah.
go there.
Second biggest company in the world, still overtaken by Microsoft.
So he went there because it's very important for Apple sales.
He went there. Now you have to remember that Apple is already deeply integrated with China. A lot of Apple's assembly line
They're made in the
in
Foxconn
China.
factories, right?
Yeah, but with material from all over the world, I
Oh, yeah, yeah,
guess.
yeah.
Like they've tried very hard to diversify that part. But yeah, we'll see if this leads anywhere. But I very much doubt. Like Apple must have offered Xi something, right? You don't go to meet the king empty-handed to beg. You go with an offer,
It
something
wouldn't
along
be
those lines.
appreciated. You have to beg. So then I
Yeah,
can tweet about it and make fun of you. But yeah, yeah. So with that, Luigi, do we
with that in
close
mind,
our episode for this week?
yeah, we covered a lot of bases. Pretty happy
A
with
lot
that
of
progress. Had a lot of
yes,
fun as well.
had a lot of fun. As much as possible when having to juggle news of such tiredness.
Yeah, I'd rather
Yeah.
we just did
I mean,
satirical news, but the world, alas, the world is a sad place.
yes, yes, yes.
On that cheerful note, thank you to everybody for making it till the end, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week, guys. Bye bye.